You're listening to XS Gaming Podcast, a podcast for gamers by gamers, with your hosts Xander and James Gruesome, bringing you something old, something new, and a little bit of nostalgia too. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome back to a brand new episode of XS Gaming Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Xander and joined with me, the longtime co-host, Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, James?
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Happy late Memorial Day. Happy Father's Day to anyone out there. I know it's like lately me and Xander both seem like we have more like kids and cats and, all kinds of stuff going on. So if you're a pet parent or a regular parent or a substitute parent or a, partner parent or whatever's going on with anything, if you're contributing to like a kid's life in a positive way or a cat's life, which just ran in the room right now, hey, we wish you a good day and hope you are doing well.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done a podcast. If you guys have been following me on social media, just a lot's been going on. I recently moved. Me and my girlfriend live together now, and we're trying to get back in the slew of things and rescheduling and doing all that stuff. And James, you just recently got a new addition to your family.
Yeah, it had been a bit. We had our last cat, Havoc, from a couple years back that passed. We had, for a long time, and she was always a single cat. It's just how it was. And when she passed, we got Lucy, who we've had for 2 years now. And I'm sure if any of y'all are friends with me on Facebook, you see lots of pictures of my cats. And, and cat pics are always awesome. But yes, we decided to get a new little one, which I think it's been 3 weeks. And it's just been like weird because I've actually been sleeping in a different room than my wife. Is kind of like that old school, grandparent shit where they had like different rooms back in the day.
You guys have your own like a headboard with your names engraved on it.
Yeah. So it's like we had the extra room, and the kitten at first, she was a little sick, so I had to keep them separated. Plus, she's very small, and Lucy is a 13-pound cat, very big, very nice, but you still had to be careful. But yeah, she'd been kind of sick, so I wanted to keep her separated. So I'd been sleeping in a separate room with her for what seems like about 3 weeks now. We finally just incorporated back into, and she's roaming free. She had a few, health issues, but everything seems to be looking up. I got really used to giving her medication. The vet even complimented. They're like, wow, she takes medicine really good. I'm like, well, she's used to it. She's been taking medicine for like 3 fucking weeks now. And I just kind of thought that might be life, but apparently not. Everything's healing up. And I got to say, like, the cats are actually getting along better than I could have expected. It was definitely a lot more work than I thought. It does keep you quite occupied, which will probably show in the games we've been playing, because for me it's not that many because I've been playing with cats. So, but other than that, man, I can't complain. It's just been fun. Work's still going, getting hot. That hot time of year.
Oh,
all
yeah,
that weather stuff.
Yeah, it's the summertime, and with the summertime, other than the heat, there's some other heat that comes out, and that is, of course, E3, which E3 had just passed, and it was a very interesting E3 this year because, one, Sony wasn't at E3 at all. We had, Square Enix, Namco Bandai. We had some of the third parties that were doing things with Sony, but Sony themselves didn't have an E3. It was mostly just Microsoft and Nintendo. And Microsoft had a pretty good E3. They showed off some, follow-ups on some games coming out. They have like this Ultimate Game Pass now that's on the Xbox One and the PC, and it's like $14.99 a month, but for the promo, they were only charging folks who were already on Game Pass like $1, and it was good for the whole year, which I thought was really awesome. They also announced that they are coming out with a new Xbox right now it's called Codename Scarlet, and it's supposed to be scheduled for the holidays of 2020, so we're already slowly going into the 9th generation of gaming, which is just crazy thinking about that. But they showed off some good stuff. I watched it. I'm like, wow, like Ori 2 looked really cool. That's a game I still wish I could play. I hear Ori's a lot of fun. I'm trying to think of what some other games they showed off. I know they showed off the new Halo, new Gears, and a couple of like
Because we had
indie.
the cyberpunk
Yeah,
game, of course, is a big one, and that's that for me. Like, and I mean, it's pretty awesome, dude. Everybody loves like Keanu Reeves now. He's really kind of transcended into this weird state, where he's a guy, a lot of us have seen for just many years. Never really known as like the greatest actor, when he was younger.
yeah,
It still ended up in a lot of stuff, and I mean, I'm not knocking him. Some roles he just kind of seemed like him, but he's really hit this point, especially with the John Wick movies, which I've only seen the first one, and I mean that first one to me was still one of the best, just straight action movies I've seen in
yeah,
forever. So I'm pretty pumped to see part 2 and 3, and to have him show up, like it's just an extra thing. Some people can be iffy with celebrity likenesses in games, but I think the fact that even like he showed up and he's such a beloved figure.
yeah.
You
He
don't hear
really
anything
is.
bad about the guy. Like his like training he's done, as far as like weaponry for the movies is like legit. There's videos. He also just hangs around with like people. He's just kind of
Yeah,
like this modern day everyman that is still super famous, but yet nobody really says anything bad about. So it's cool that he's in it. That was just cool, I think, to have him show up.
mm-hmm.
And as far too as you mentioned with some of the indie games, one I thought that looked really cool from Microsoft was the Spirit Fair. Speaking of cats, it's a game where you have a little cat running around with you. Very beautiful, like hand drawn artwork. And it has a little bit of darkness to it, where it sounds like you're almost kind of like the ferryman. You're kind
Yeah.
of like the dude in Castlevania, and you're just hauling people, to the other side.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
Very cool looking, and yeah, just to see that as far as the Scarlet, I imagine that's probably a name that will not stick. It's just kind of I don't know. I think I like Gone with the Wind and stuff when I hear that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we know, the next gen is upon us. We've heard, many rumors, we've seen specs, lots of speculation about backwards compatibility. And then, now we see it really is on the horizon. And if Microsoft is set to be, holiday of 2020, we know Sony is right behind. And it's kind of funny too, because we see a lot of these, Sony and Microsoft almost kind of see them on their last legs now, while Nintendo is still really kicking it with their same system.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we're seeing a weird transition where, we have this new PlayStation, we have this new Microsoft, and Nintendo. Their new console is officially 2 years old, hitting that midway third tier in their lifespan. So a lot of people have been speculating as well about maybe we're going to get a new Switch model, like maybe a more powerful Switch, or maybe a more like a smaller, compact Switch, like a handheld only Switch. And a lot. What's bad is I've heard a lot of people saying that they've been holding out buying a Switch because of these rumors, and I'm just like, man, they're just rumors. And unless Nintendo actually says something, I take everything as a grain of salt when it comes to new Switch remodels. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a case where, kind of like the new 3DS,
Yeah,
where you had like a few games that only worked with that. I wouldn't really worry about it. If you're on the fence with getting a Switch, you could see more and more sales. I don't really see the issue with getting one. Like, I don't think there's going to be too much a difference in far that. And like you said, we haven't heard anything. I'm kind of curious, like as I mentioned, with the backwards compatibility of what do you think is going to happen? Like there's been some thoughts, like I'm pretty sure both systems, while there was speculation of them being fully BC, I think they're just going to do last. Like we'll get PS4 and
mm-hmm.
we'll get Xbox One compatibility. And though with the Microsoft one, I'm on a BC compatibility page on Facebook, and some people had, they mentioned 4 generations, but everything I've heard is what's backwards compatibility compatible now is what's going to stay. So like if it works
Yeah,
on Xbox One now, I'm not saying they're not going to add, new things to it. But like, what do you think with the BCD? I mean, do you think like just both systems will keep the, like I said, the PS4 and Xbox One gens?
Yeah. I think it's going to keep last gen backwards compatible, and the reason why I say this is because something else we're seeing a lot more now, especially with the new Google console, and I know a lot of people have been on the fence about this, the Stadia. We're getting into cloud gaming, and cloud gaming has actually came a lot further along than some people even speculate, because it's one of those territories where a lot of people don't know too much about it, and the less you know, the more skeptical you are about it. But it's came so far that I could see them using the previous generation, like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and the same for Xbox. I could see that pushing more with PS Now and the Game Pass. Because that's a constant subscription, that's a constant thing. It's a lot easier. It's a lot less hardware to put into a box. So me personally, I think when the PS5 comes out, I think it's going to be backwards compatible with PS4, which would be awesome. But I don't think it's going to do the previous generations.
Yeah, that's kind of for me. And honestly, like to me, that's enough. Now, I mean, the
Yeah,
ultimate, not even going all the way back, would be if we could even get 360 and PS3 BC. Like that really even would be game changing in itself. But I think the hope for a full on BC is just it's kind of a bit of a pipe dream. It's something that we would all love. And I mean, I'd love to be wrong. Like I really would. Like that
yeah.
would
Same
be
here.
that's like system sellers, even, like to me that pushes consoles more than I think these companies even think they would. I've stated, I was talking to one of my friends and I said, it's like I don't really want to play RoboCop on Xbox, OG, but I mean I'd like to be able to,
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
because so many of these games, like we said, kind of get lost. But even still having this generation, because as more systems come out, these gaps, even though they are the typical time span of a system, they do kind of feel shorter and shorter. And there's still so many good games coming out. There's so many games a lot of us haven't played. And just to be able to have one system and at least go back a generation just makes things so much easier, whether it's, cords and the fact that, people seem to be trying to minimalize more just in life in general. Just the less systems you can have laying around sometimes just can be a big, space saver even.
Yeah, that's the way I've always been. I mean, I've always, like, I remember when I got my PlayStation 2, I didn't keep my PlayStation 1. Like, I ended up getting rid of it because I was like, okay, well, this plays both, so I don't have to have both consoles. And getting back into some of the games that's been coming out, I know Square Enix did have their press conference. The biggest thing they announced was the release date for Final Fantasy VII. They actually have a release date now. It's going to be coming out the 3rd of March to 2020. And it's going to be episodic, just like they've always said. It's going to be episodic. But it's going to be 2 Blu-rays, and it's going to be covering just the events that happen in Midgard, which is insane. Some people have been kind of upset about it. They're wondering what the price is. We all know it's going to be $60. Don't kid ourselves. I mean, anyone thinking this is going to be a $40 game, you're only setting yourself up for disappointment. This will be a full retail game. But a lot of people are wondering, like, do I buy it now or do I wait until the rest of the episodes come out? Are the other episodes, this is my fear, are the other episodes going to bleed into the next generation? That's one of my biggest fears, that we'll get episode 1 2 years later, we'll get episode 2 on PS5, and you're like, well, shit, now I got to get a PS5.
Yeah, it's like, is it a big marketing ploy? I'd
Yeah.
like to think that we would get both of them, and it's like you said, is it being a full retail game? Yeah, I mean, it just looks completely revamped,
Yeah.
and things have changed. Like it's almost going to be, it's those people who said I'd never play Final Fantasy VII again. With it done this way, though, I mean, it's very possible I might. To me, it looks different enough. I just
Yeah.
didn't necessarily want the same game, but everything on this just looks. I at the end, I just kind of hope it's what all the like really true fans of it want. I hope it exceeds their expectations and they really pull off something amazing with it.
I couldn't believe that Square Enix did it. Like, I always told people that this game would never be remade, because I was like, it's just way too much going into it. I mean, because I'm like, you're not going to be able to please everybody with a remake like this. And of course, they have changed the battle system. It's like Final Fantasy 15, but a little bit more turn based. They still have the active time bar and stuff like that. But I mean, I was just like, man, anything they do is not going to be good enough for a remake like this. And I've seen it on the internet. I've had to kind of just turn my eyes off on social media when it comes to it, because I mean, it just becomes toxic after a while, and it, just like anything in social media when it comes to fandoms. But that got an announcement. Also, getting into some of the stuff that Nintendo mentioned. Nintendo just had like a very crazy, awesome E3. Oh yeah, before I get in that, Battletoads on Microsoft, and they announced that, and I wanted to ask you, James, did you see the trailer for the new Battletoads?
I did see it, and it's one of those things when you kind of start thinking, and I do listen to the CU podcast with Pat and Ian. I know a lot of people kind of hate them more now, but I still enjoy their show. And I did think when he brought up a point where they both mentioned they're like, it's kind of weird with the hype with Battletoads, because when you look at it going back, it's not really that great of a game.
Yeah.
For some reason, we all have these fond memories of Battletoads. But when you go back, most people just kind of hate it. Where I enjoyed the Battletoads and Double Dragon a bit more, I
Mm-hmm.
kind of think that this game, though, will be a bit more like the arcade. And with them even showing a bit, that speeder bike level, that bane of everyone's existence, that I think is really going to end up being a more fun version. I think they kind of threw that out there as a joke. And this game's going to be a little bit more leaning towards the arcade, which is a more traditional beat 'em up.
Mm-hmm.
And, at the end, we all have an affinity for this game for some reason. These very few Battletoads games, and we still want to see it come back. So I'm holding out hope that it's just going to be a fun game. And as long as we've kind of been waiting on it, like I really think it'll turn out that way. It's just going to be a decent, fun beat 'em up, just like it should be.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. I just had to mention Battletoads though, because I was like, oh shit, Battletoads. But going back into Nintendo, now Nintendo had a very interesting E3. First and foremost, one of the things I liked about it was they showed off Doug Bowser, the new Nintendo of America president, and he had his own little skit with Bowser, which was kind of funny. And what I liked about it was it kind of filled the gap with Reggie not being at Nintendo anymore. This was his first E3 where he, was no longer the president. And he had such a profound presence for all their E3s and Nintendo Directs. So that was really cool. But, they mentioned a lot of great DLC, like the Smash Brothers DLC with the Dragon Quest Warrior, or Hero, I should say, and Banjo-Kazooie, which was insane to see that now a property owned by Microsoft is on Smash Brothers. This is like the biggest like bromance between Microsoft and Nintendo I've seen. This is absolutely crazy. And also, the mentions of a new Panzer Dragoon and Contra, that really surprised me.
Yeah, those are some titles like you just wouldn't really expect. I mean, I guess maybe the Contra not quite as surprising as far as we had the Contra collection coming out, and it's kind of like I wouldn't be surprised even to see a new Castlevania at this point, because sometimes what's old is new, and you
Yeah.
bring those back into the forefront, and people still want these titles. But yeah, I mean, a new Contra, like I mean, the last couple, I mean, I could say that I remember, were pretty outstanding as far as the Contra Rebirth on the Wii, that we always mention, those games along with the Castlevania and the
Mm-hmm.
Gradius and a couple Hudson titles. A really, awesome series. And Contra 4 on the DS, which I also thought was extremely hard and, difficult for me to play through, but still really cool. But that's still, a very viable title that
Yeah.
people want to see. And the Panzer Dragoon is one of those ones that's, man, I that kind of blew my mind seeing that pop up.
Yeah, that
That's one of those kind of crossovers, from, as many said, the OG Xbox was kind of like the next Dreamcast, and that was what we had that on. And to see that one come back, man, that's really cool, and I'm really looking forward to see what they do with it in this generation.
Yeah, I saw that. And I was like, wow, new Panzer Dragoon, and um, they mentioned a lot of great games. Of course, new Breath of the Wild too. I'm in a Zelda group, and I think since Tuesday they've all had their own theories and speculations about that. Less than a minute trailer that they showed. Like everyone's like, that was Ganondorf. Oh, this is this hand. I mean, they're getting it all into the lore, and it's exciting to see the fans that excited about something like that, as well as Link's Awakening. I cannot wait for that. I've actually went back and started playing Link's Awakening on the Game Boy Color on my phone. I've been playing that a little bit. But overall, I mean, E3 was really, really cool. Now, getting into some of the side stuff before we get into games we've been playing recently, there was some things that really came out of nowhere this E3, and one is from the Konami, not just a new Contra, but a TurboGrafx 16 plug and play.
The other thing everybody always wanted, and
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it surprised a lot of people because a lot of people didn't realize that Konami owned Hudson Soft. They bought Hudson Soft back in like 2016, I believe. And that kind of surprised a lot of people. And what was really interesting is, of course, TurboGrafx 16 is going to have 3 different models for the different regions. I know that Japan's going to have the PC engine and the Super Graphics. They're going to have that one, and then we're going to get the TurboGrafx 16 over here in the West. And some of the games are a little different. Like I'd noticed the CD-based games so far. They've mentioned 6 games, but 1 out of the 6 is a CD-based game. The West is getting Ys Books 1 and 2, and Japan's getting Rondo of Blood. I'm hoping that they end up being like, okay, you guys are getting all the same, because that's one of the things I didn't really like about the NES Mini. Was the NES Mini had a different library than the Famicom Mini. I don't really care for that too much because it makes people have to double dip for collecting and stuff like that.
And with this, as you mentioned, could almost be a triple dip because we have the core graphics also, which is the UK one. So there are
that's what I was thinking.
Versions.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
There's 3 different versions, but just knowing with the Ys Book 1 and 2, which was a CD game, we know CD games are going to be on there, and it's a short-lived as TurboGrafx was. A lot of people didn't get to play it with emulation. Now I'm sure many more have, but we all know Japan had a way more extensive library. Of course, there's a lot of licensed games we wouldn't see on there. I'm a big fan of Die Hard on the PC Engine. I think that's a really cool one, very Commando like. But yeah, I'm kind of hoping they, either you need to have enough different games to make it worth the purchase, but I would hate to see them leave off just something as iconic as Rondo of Blood. That's still one that one I believe is not on the Castlevania collection, correct?
Yeah.
So it's one that's still, I think a lot of people have missed out on. It's available out there. Of course, you can get it, but that's one that just should be on there. And, we don't know how many games will be on it. I'm really hoping for at least, this is one of those ones really I could see being 20, but I hope it would be, at least maybe like 30 games. There's so many, cool ones they could put on there that with those exclusives, where there's legendary acts. They could leave off that god awful wrestling game Battle Royal, because that's just the shits. I don't ever want to see that again. But of course, your Bonks, Splatterhouse. We've got them on some other collections. Could one of those show up on there? Keith Courage. You got to have Keith Courage,
I was about to say, I was kind of disappointed when they announced the first 6 games and Keith Courage wasn't on there. I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, Keith Courage.
Everybody hates Keith Courage, but goddamn it, like you need to have that one on that collection. It just needs to be there.
Yeah, and of course,
but that's just a really cool one to finally come out in this myriad of different plug and play systems we've had. Except for maybe they skipped on Genesis, so somehow we could get like a really cool like Master System one. But this TurboGrafx, I mean, that's really the one I think so many people have wanted and could really open up a lot of new games. to people. And like I said, we're still looking at what is the final game count, what is the price going to be, and to me, game count and price it kind of roll in together depending on what you have. And I just kind of hope they pull off just a really awesome collection that people can, maybe many people can check out for the first time. A lot of these games.
Yeah, because TurboGrafx, a lot of games, are on the Wii Virtual Console, of course, emulation. But I mean, there's still people out there who have never had a chance to experience some of those games. So that's one of the things I do like about the mini consoles. Is it gives folks a chance to experience something new and have something to physically hold and enjoy. Also, the last little bit that I want to talk about was the new arcade 1-Up cabinets they announced. They have a Turtles in Time, TMNT 4-player arcade 1-Up coming out. Also, a Marvel one and Star Wars. Like, they're actually going to have the Star Wars arcade. And these arcade 1-Up cabinets, man, they're getting up there. They're getting to the point where it's just like, if you want to be a collector of arcade 1-Up, your wallet's like bleeding now. It's just like on the floor in a puddle of blood because, I mean, there's so many arcade 1-Ups coming out. It's insane.
Your house will be full,
Yeah.
And I know everybody's enjoying these, and everybody has a blast. But I kind of think, I don't know, part of me almost thinks they're pushing this just a little bit to where a lot of people are going to end up with way too many in their house. And while they're really fun for a little bit, sometimes it might just get in the way. But I was kind of surprised because I'd realized that Turtles one had both games on it, which I thought was really cool. I thought maybe it was just the one, and then of course the Marvel one, like you said, it's got the Marvel superheroes, Children of the Atom, and the Punisher.
Yeah,
the Punisher.
Yeah, the Punisher.
That to me is the real wow, because I mean that was an awesome arcade game, and I'm sure a lot of people missed out on that. It had a conversion on the Genesis, which wasn't quite the same, but it years ago on an episode we did one on beat 'em ups, which I think is probably lost in time, but me and a friend of mine sat like all night and played as many beat 'em ups as we could, and I was really tired and he passed out, and Punisher ended up being about my favorite one. So I think people that get this one actually are really in for a treat, and it's cool to see on that cab that mixture of a fighting game and a really sweet, like violent beat 'em up, with them having these multiple controllers up to 4. I guess they're going to be like a little bigger, but they're still going to be, kind of short. I mean, I just picture like, 4 30 to 40-year-old dudes on their knees in front of a cab, playing it. But, those might justify getting the stand for some of those. But, I mean, at the end, those are two, actually, I mean, I think those are two of the best ones they may have put out so far. And not to mention, like you said, that Star Wars one, which that one might be a little bit more in price. I think the Turtles one is set to be like $350 and the Marvel at $300. And I don't know about the Star Wars, but you got a lot of Star Wars fans that'll pick that one up. It's got the controller. That could just be a really cool, trippy one to have. I enjoy seeing this. I just, like I said, I hope some people don't go crazy and kind of end up, regretting buying every one. Just, be selective, but hey, have fun. It's your money. Do what you want to do.
Well, I'll say as an owner of arcade 1-Up cabinets, I have the Street Fighter 2. It was something that when I first got it, I played a lot of it. I don't play it that much. I mean, my girlfriend's kids play it more than I do now. But even then, I mean, they played it for a while and they enjoyed it, and now they went back to Fortnite for a little bit. They played it and they're like, "This is great." Now let's. So I mean, it's one of those things that it's a good collection piece. It's something cool. When people come over and they're, "Oh man, you have an arcade cabinet," it's awesome. But I mean, like in the long stretches, it's kind of like. I don't see myself buying like 4 or 5 of these things. I just can't see myself doing it.
Yeah, kind of connected to that though too. I saw a couple people post. I believe you were one of them about that. Was it the Turtles Free for All game?
Yes.
That came out?
Yes, you can play as 60 different characters. I mean, you can play as Velma. You can play a Turtles beat 'em up as Velma.
Irma.
Awesome. Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah.
Irma. Sorry, I had to correct you on that one.
But yeah.
But some kind of mousy girl with glasses.
Yeah.
I saw Usagi Yojimbo, and I was like, holy shit! I'm like, it's like reworked stages from
Mm-hmm.
most of any Super NES games. I don't know. Did they use any stages from the actual Ninja Turtle on NES?
I
That
think
might be kind of difficult to use.
yeah, I think they reworked some of the levels. I haven't had a chance to play it yet myself, but I'm going to download it
It
this
is
week and play
free
it.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, for anybody, it's a awesome mixture. Like it looks like the greatest turtle game ever, probably, and it's really kind of cool to see coming off the tails of the arcade one up cabs. It's just kind of connected, and it's just it. Sometimes these fan games, man, they just end up better. Like this kind of looks like the turtles equivalent of like a Bobo's Big Adventure, kind of
Yeah,
like it looks on that level of awesome.
I was about to say if you want to play a really good fan made game, another game that just dropped Tuesday is a game called Legend of Double Dragon,
Is that the
and
one with the superstars, the wrestling guys in it?
I don't no, I haven't got that.
No, probably not.
I haven't got to that one. I haven't gotten that far in it. But what's really cool about this one is you can actually switch fighting styles. Like it's in the style of Super Double Dragon, but
Okay.
you can play as like Billy and Jimmy, and you can press the shoulder buttons, and you can switch from like the Double Dragon 1 and 3 fighting style, or Double Dragon 2 fighting style, or Super Double Dragon, and they even incorporate Street Fighter moves, which was kind of cool.
Okay. See, the one I was thinking of, there is another one too. Just speaking of that, it's just regular Double Dragon, but it has all the wrestlers from WWF Superstars, the beloved arcade
Oh,
game. So you
nice.
can actually leg drop people as Hulk Hogan. You can press slam them as Ultimate Warrior. You can be Andre. Someone combine these because if you're a fan of Superstars, like you could always see like Billy, at least might have been Billy and Jimmy, or Bimmy and Jimmy, whoever they are. They were out in the crowd because Technos made both those games. Had a very similar graphical style, so I could really see how someone could, a bit more easily incorporate them. But so if you're a Double Dragon fan and an old WWF fan, you can hacksaw Jim Duggan somebody, in Double Dragon. It's pretty awesome.
Indeed, indeed. Now, getting into the last bit of games we've been playing recently, I know James, you haven't. You said earlier in the episode you haven't played as much. What have you been playing?
I actually did manage to get on, and still, like I said, with my Xbox, and just going back to the Scarlet, being a little bit more of an Xbox fan lately, I still am kind of, excited about the next Xbox. And as far as them keeping, Game Pass going, and Game Share, it's something that to me, that's a bit more of a job that I'm really gonna, look into, maybe getting one when it comes out. And I don't really systems at launch, we'll see how it goes. But I was going on and off my Game Pass from my friend Kenneth, I got Dead 4. We just watched Dawn of the Dead recently, the old classic Romero movie. And I remembered I hadn't played a Dead Rising in a long time, probably not since the first one. And I mean, they're up to part 4. So I popped it in for a little bit, and you start off in a mall, like you usually do. But afterwards, that was kind of a dream sequence, and you kind of start off like infiltrating some base that's doing experiments on corpses. So definitely had a bit of a change up from what I was used to. But one I'm definitely going to get back onto playing. With one of the kind of last lines of backwards compatibility they put out, as far as OG Xbox, Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, that was on there. And
Oh,
if you
nice.
never played that one, it's probably the best. I'd have to say it's the best like home console Indiana Jones game, unless you count like the Fate of Atlantis, which was that more old school Lucasfilms adventure style, which is unlockable on the Wii version of Indiana Jones game, which is probably the best reason to play that one. But yeah, Emperor's Tomb on Xbox, really cool. I was playing a bit earlier, and I mean, it's an older game, and of course we have things like Tomb Raider now, Uncharted, these games that really kind of expanded to me off that kind of Legend of Indiana Jones, which are much better experiences. But if you actually want to play as Indiana Jones, Emperor's Tomb, if you got the old Xbox copy, it works now, or I'm sure like they do with most, you can actually buy it on the store. And it's kind of sad to see this being the final iteration of those games. But I'm pretty sure we'll get some more as time goes on. I did try Dead by Daylight for a moment. That was free on Game Pass. So you mentioned earlier, Game Pass is really awesome. It's $10, gets you access to a lot of games. I think Dead by Daylight's it's one of those games with like a lot of horror icons. If you like the Friday the 13th game, this might be more for you. Friday the 13th actually has single player missions, whereas this one doesn't. And I didn't want to play online with mean people, so I just opted not to play that. I did try out also another free game on Game Pass, Metro. It's Metro something. I don't know if it's Metro Underground. It's some series I don't know anything about. It's first person. I played it for a little bit and actually seemed pretty cool. I was playing it just a little bit before the show, so I didn't get into it too much, but I did enjoy it. And one of the other ones I would say I really enjoyed was another game, also that ended up on Game Pass. Because sometimes with Game Pass, you just end up with these games on your system. I don't even remember downloading them, or sometimes if my friend gets something on Game Pass, it just pops up on my system automatically. So it's kind of fun because you turn on your system and you don't really know what's going to be on there. But there was this game called Outcast, and it's Outcast Second something. I wrote some notes. I can't read what it says. I'm sorry, but it's an old 1990s game. More open world, kind of like an earlier Grand Theft Auto type body harvest game, but a little bit more sci-fi themed. And you're looking at a game now that's probably like 20 something years old. They reworked a little bit, still has that old feel to it. And it was when I started playing, and I really just kind of enjoyed it. I went through some of the training missions, and it's one just with all the kit and stuff. I just hadn't got as much time as I'd like to go back to. But like I said, if you got Game Pass, just check out a lot of these games. And if you don't have Game Pass and you have Xbox, you really should get it because it opens up,
Oh yeah.
so much. It's literally free games. To me, it's so much better than the one that Sony did. You got a lot of older games at times and some things you might not want to play where you always get the first party Xbox titles even on day one when they release stuff. These games are on Game Pass for $10. So it's like you don't have to go out and buy it, which is just it's really been kind of mind blowing. Like I said, I'm really down for the more fan service to me that Xbox has been doing as far as that, and it's kind of why being more of a not really a Sony fanboy, but just a lifelong Sony player. It's kind of got me leaning a little bit, and it's really the main system I've played lately. Though I haven't got to play the most games, but it's one when I turn on a system, it's usually my Xbox.
Oh yeah. Now with myself, I made a video talking about games I've been playing recently. Outside of that, I haven't really been playing too much new stuff. Been playing a lot of retro stuff. Yesterday I was actually playing Kickmaster on the NES.
Oh man,
I didn't even know about that game until recently. I was in a Castlevania forum and someone like showed it, and I'm like, "Oh, what's this? Kickmaster." It was a Taito game, and it's like an action RPG slash Castlevania, but instead of a whip, you're kicking people. It's a really cool game. Been playing that and Legend of Double Dragon, which I mentioned earlier. Which what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave links on this episode of the new Ninja Turtles game and also Legend of Double Dragon. Now, with Legend of Double Dragon, you will have to have the Beats of Rage program installed on your computer in order to play it, which Beats of Rage is an open source, like, beat 'em up developer kit where people will make a lot of beat 'em ups using this engine, and that's what they use for that. But other than that, a little bit of Link's Awakening, getting ready for the new one, and I've just been kind of just pie surfing a little bit, playing retro here and there because I'm just ready for. I was about to say Castlevania, but I'm ready for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
Bloodstained, man, yeah, that one's coming out really soon. And it's one I gotta admit, I is excited. We've talked about that game. It seems like for years now, and the excitement for me is kind of worn down. at this point from almost a year ago, but it's one I'm still gonna get, and I'm really hoping it just gives me that old Symphony of the Night, the old any of the Igarashi, Castlevania games, which I think it's gonna do. I think the fact that my excitement is down is gonna make it even better when I
Yeah.
actually play it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, and I think a lot of people, honestly, a lot of people forgot about it too. Because I mean, it was announced like 4 years ago. So unless you've been a diehard Castlevania fan that you've been just going at it, or if you backed it, I think a lot of just the I don't want to say normal gamers, but just some of the gamers out there that's been caught up in the last 4 years of gaming obviously probably forgot about it, and they're like, oh shit, Bloodstain, what's that? But yeah, it's a Igarashi spiritual successor to Castlevania, and it comes out at the time of recording this is going to come out Tuesday, because today's 16th. It comes out on the 18th for PS4 and I believe Xbox One, but it comes out the 25th for Switch. So I'm getting it for the Switch. I'm going to have to get it a week late, but I want to get that portability in, because slow days at work, I like to grind and explore a castle. So
That is a big, to me, seller. I was just talking to a friend of mine about that, and I was like, man, I kind of want to get it when it comes out, but I was like, man, that portability factor would really be great. Who knows? I might just get it on one, and if it's that awesome, maybe I'll buy it twice if I love it that much.
Indeed. But this is going to wrap up another episode of XS Gaming Podcast. We want to wish you guys wish you guys a Merry Christmas. We'll be back before Christmas. We'll be back before then. But anyway, guys, always thanks for listening. And as always, happy gaming.
And I do want to say our friend Rob Luther from the Retro Junkies, him and Landon are actually bringing the Retro Junkies back very soon. So be sure to check out for them. And our dear friend Ryan Cadaver, who's been a guest many times on the show, just got married this past weekend. And him and his lovely wife, Nicole, are on their honeymoon in Thailand right now. So we wish them a very happy marriage and safe travels back. And we love all you guys. And have a pleasant evening.
See you guys later.